Welcome back to Network Africa. Now, British businessman Shrien Dewani has been cleared of murdering his wife during their South Africa honeymoon after the judge threw out the case. The judge said the evidence presented by the prosecution fell far below the threshold of what a reasonable court could convict on. She also said the evidence of the prosecution's main witness was riddled with contradictions. Annie's family says they have been failed by the justice system.
A South African court acquitted Briton Shrien Dewani on Monday, clearing him of charges that he paid hitmen to kill his wife while on honeymoon in Cape Town 4 years ago.
In the circumstances, I make the following order. The application in terms of Section 174 of the Criminal Procedure Act is granted. The accused is found not guilty in this charge, and Mr. Malombo is not granted indemnity from prosecution.
Annie Dewani, whose maiden name was Hindocha, had been married barely a fortnight when her body was discovered in the back seat of a taxi in the Cape Town township of Khayelitsha. The 28-year-old, accompanied by Shrien, was being driven through the township in a taxi when the vehicle was apparently hijacked by two armed men. Dewani's defense lawyer, Francois Van Zyl, submitted an application in November based on Section 174 of the Criminal Procedure Act, which allows the judge to drop charges against the suspect if it is decided at the close of the prosecution's arguments that there is no evidence of their guilt. The two hitmen and the taxi driver are already in prison, serving lengthy sentences for their role in the shooting. One of the men died of a brain tumor in prison in October. In November, CCTV footage was released that showed Dewani with taxi driver Zola Tongo at the Cape Grace Hotel in Cape Town, where he and his wife were staying before she was shot dead on November 13, 2010.
Now in Tanzania, around 5,000 Maasai gathered in their ancestral lands to discuss allegations that the government plans to evict them and sell off the land to build a game hunting reserve for rich Arabs. Tanzania's president has dismissed the claims in a post on social media site Twitter. However, a global petition against the plans attracted over 2 million signatures. The Voice of America's Henry Ridgwell reports.
The allegations concern a vast plain on the edge of Tanzania's Serengeti National Park, part of Maasai ancestral land. The Maasai claim the government wants to evict 40,000 villagers and turn it into a game hunting reserve run by a safari company based in the Persian Gulf. 2.3 million people from around the globe signed a petition on the website of rights group Avaz against the proposal. Last week, Tanzania's President Jakaya Kikwete tweeted a message saying there has never been nor will there ever be any plan by the government of Tanzania to evict the Maasai people from their ancestral land. That's not true, says Maasai activist Samuel Nangire, who spoke to VOA on the phone from Loliondo in Tanzania, part of the land in question.
This land has been there and everybody knows, the whole world knows, the government denied that. So after the president says there has never been a plan and there will not be a plan, the matter wanted the president put that in writing as a commitment from the government.
Nangire says the police are trying to disrupt a meeting of around 5,000 Maasai in the disputed region.
The police have been ordered to go on the ground and make sure that they dismiss the meeting, and no media coverage will be allowed to go there.
The Tanzanian High Commission in London did not respond to requests for an interview. Conservationists say it's vital that indigenous groups like the Maasai play a central role in securing remote areas for both people and wildlife. At a recent conference called Stabilisation Through Conservation in London, Ian Saunders, a conservationist and counterinsurgency expert who has lived in the Maasai tribal areas, told VOA any attempts to evict the communities would fail.
For any political party to try and relocate a considerably large community like that to another area is not only political disaster, it's also there'll be issues of security.
The Maasai insist they will keep protesting until they receive written confirmation that their ancestral land will not be sold off.
Now, just before we take another break, do you remember this video?
Do you know which animal has the longest and biggest fur?
It's the one which went viral a couple of weeks ago. I'm nothing short of pleased to inform you that justice will be served. The maid you see on this video is of Ugandan heritage. She was secretly filmed beating and kicking a toddler and has pleaded guilty to torture. She goes by the name of Jolie Tumuhiwe and is only 22 years old. However, she's been charged in court with the torture of a girl who was just 18 months. A video of the assault caused outrage when it was posted online. The child's father, Eric Kamanzi, had installed a camera in his home after noticing his daughter was bruised and limping. Ms. Tumuhiwe asked the court, the parents and Ugandans to forgive her. The graphic footage, which is taken from a camera hidden in the corner of the living room, shows Ms. Tumuhiwe hitting the child when she resists feeding and then throwing her to the floor, beating her with a torch before stepping on her and kicking her.
Unless you are mentally unstable, you cannot do that. It's unbelievable. I have no words to use.
We are going to charge her with attempted murder because the actions of the lady, you see, she really wanted to murder this child.
In spite of all the madness, we must do our best to end on a bubbly note. Africa's first venture to the moon is just dollars away, and the Foundation for Space Development, a non-profit organization in Cape Town, South Africa, is calling on funders through the internet to close the gap.
A crowdfunding initiative was launched in November to raise $150,000 to finance the first phase of the mission dubbed Africa to Moon. The project aims to send a robotic craft to the moon where it can stream live images back to Earth and into classrooms across the continent to raise awareness and curiosity about space to African youths. Jonathan Weltman, CEO of the Foundation for Space Development and the project's administrator, explains why they decided to crowdfund rather than go to the government agencies.
Our funding comes from private institutions and private individuals. And when attempting something as large as this, it is imperative that we've got the public behind us. And the best way to gauge and measure public opinion and public support is to open it up to the public for funding as well. So the crowdfunding is an important element for us, not just in raising some funds in order to continue with phase one of the project, but it's also important to gauge and measure support for the project from the public in general.
Weltman added that this initiative is meant to raise the profile of astronomy and to pull in existing talent to take part in a challenging field of science.
Our mandate as a foundation is to support educational institutions. We are not providing education directly. Instead, we're trying to provide a project that will keep skilled engineers and scientists in Africa and inspire other students and scholars to take an interest and to go to their local universities and schools and study more science and do more in the field.
The first phase of the program will involve a mission concept and feasibility study expected to run between January and November 2015. The mission will then transmit video from the surface of the orbit around the moon via the internet, a step dubbed Moon to Africa. Organizers hope that the entire mission can provide an opportunity for Africa to make a significant contribution to space exploration activities, which have so far been led by economic and political powerhouses like US, Russia, and more recently attempts by China. It is also aimed at leveraging Africa's skills and talent resource towards space research.
Africa has great resources. It has a lot of people, a lot of smart people, a lot of people with excellent education, and that's the main resource you need for a mission like that. It's the ideas which bring you to the moon. So this is a resource which is not so scarce, and it will bring Africa on the map of the nations, of the continents who do exploration.
Kutso Ngwasheng is a software developer working with a project to build the Square Kilometer Array SKA a powerful radio telescope used in space research co-located in South Africa and Australia. SKA in South Africa could fill a major gap in the global VLBI Very Long Baseline Interferometry Network, a collection of multiple radio telescopes on Earth.
Africa is a continent with 52 countries, no less. And of those countries, none have had a lunar footprint, none have launch capacity, less than 5 have literal presence in space. If you exclude the Africa VLBI program, indeed very few by way of basically have space programs. So yeah, there's definitely a need, an infrastructural need in terms of just familiarizing people with the opportunity that space provides, enabling them and empowering them to understand that they are a part of a global community when it comes to the moon. Their access to the moon has been guaranteed literally legislatively for decades.
Africa to Moon Mission, which has partnered with the UN Foundation's Giving Tuesday initiative, follows in the footsteps of another crowd-funded lunar mission in Britain, which raised about $1 billion to get a craft into orbit.
And that's where we leave it on this episode of Network Africa. Many thanks for watching. As always, I'd love to hear from you, so feel free to send me an SMS via the number on your screen. Until next time, stay blessed and proudly African. I'm Cynthia Ray. Bye for now.